So coming out on stage was terrifying, and then it was wonderful because of the energy, and then watching the trailer and everything for the first time was awesome. I think it's funny because Kelly was saying, you know, you can be told all this stuff and you can't really prepare for it. Like, how can you prepare for 3,500 people? Just like the amount of love, and it's just like it doesn't really happen like that often, and certainly to be on stage receiving it. So it's a lot. I think I'll probably sleep very well tonight because I'm like riding on adrenaline, and then I'm gonna be like, doing, done. I think for me personally, it's probably the way that people talk about their kids and the response to Rey. Because it's funny, because I still feel like slightly, I'm always like, because I feel like I'm not fully, it feels like a very disjointed kind of thing. But when I properly think about the impact of a character like this in a big franchise, it's wonderful.
What percentage of this film are you carrying Luke Skywalker on your back, Yoda style?
I'd say like 99%, and then the other 1% he says some words.
No, that was so funny that day, and also him bringing it up, like all this stuff that I'd forgotten we did.
Well, give me a sense of, it seems like there's a dysfunctional relationship maybe going. It might not be all harmonious in Daisy Luke land. Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair to say. I think not harmonious. I think it's just that thing of there were all these expectations on Luke right from the beginning. This is your calling, this is your thing, this is what you have to do. You have to train, and then you have to do this, that, and the other. And then clearly something's taken him away. And much like Rey, there's all this expectation on her, and this is your calling, and you should be this thing, and go and save the galaxy by giving this thing to Luke. So in a way, they're kind of both similar in that, but she's very much looking up to him to be this thing that she thinks he is. And a long time's passed, so...
You know our eternal conversation that will continue at the end of time about your parentage, obviously. I'm as anxious for this to be resolved, so I don't have to ask you about it anymore as you. But when you found out, were you surprised about what you learned, or in the way it's divulged?
What, in the parent thing? Yeah. The one thing I have seen, because I did some ADR last week, I saw a little clip of something that I didn't know was going to happen in it. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. So I think quite a few actually questions that people have are answered in this.
It's Jar Jar appears, and that's what shocked you. That's what you're saying.
It's actually Jabba.
That's a different way to go. Okay.
It's a different way to go. But Jabba met this like super cool girl, and you know they had this thing for a while. It was like a summer romance. Right. And you know, what do you know?
Rey favors more of the mother side. It's fair to say.
Exactly. Or so we think.
I don't even know what to make of that.
Halfway through, become like a kind of weird slug person.
So give me a sense this time around of working with Mark, because a much different kind of a vibe than Harrison gives off. I mean,
and as I was talking to someone earlier, I was actually vomiting pretty much the whole day that me and Mark worked together for the first time. I had adrenal exhaustion, and I had an intravenous drip, and I was in this yellow tent while he was doing his side. So I can do it. I can do my side, I promise. And half the tears was emotion, and also half of it was like, I don't think I can hold my hand up anymore. But him and Harrison are very different, yeah. And also the dynamic is so different. Han is very sure of himself, and the whole thing's like, you know, he's got that thing. And Luke, after a long time away and everything, it's a different feeling.
He's a little more tortured, less swagger than Han, right?
Yes. And also it's like, you know, his calling, as it were, is not going away. So it's like yet another foray into this thing that, as he said, you know, they left it behind. Like there was an end in episode 6. So yeah, it was super. But it was very exciting. Plus, like to get to work with Mark was amazing, and then to kind of develop that relationship is super. She does.
When I envisioned that character,
I literally had not seen it. I had no idea what to expect. But I think later on I'm going to be like, digest it slightly more, because right now I'm just a bit busy.
Your voice?
Yes.
And are you speaking to Rey?
It's possible.
I think there's a response in there, and it sounds like it's my voice. Light. Darkness.
Is it you that's saying...
It's time for the Jedi to end. It is.
So what has happened to you to reach this point?
I think that's the only story point that's in the teaser. I can't really describe more, but it was as shocking to me to read what Ryan had written as I'm sure it will be for the audience.
I think how the Last Jedi starts and the journey we go on is perhaps unexpected.
Do you make a turn to the dark side? that possible?
It's possible. Anything's possible.
The first scene of the movie, produced by ABC's parent company Disney, picks up exactly where The Force Awakens left off. Rey finds the elusive Luke Skywalker who's gone into exile.
Literally a cliffhanger. I love that, the metaphor of me standing on a cliff.
When you guys read the script, were there some big surprises in there even for you?
Yeah. I went to Ryan's office and I was like, we need to have a talk about what's happening here.
When I read 8, I told Ryan, I fundamentally disagree with virtually everything you've decided about my character, but might be a good sign because I was really wrong about 7. I said, when I turn around, the audience is going to hoot and holler because it's such an obvious cheat. I didn't foresee John Williams' incredible music and the shots of Daisy, the build up to it all. So I was never happier to be wrong.
You seem to be much more proficient with the lightsaber.
I mean, The Force Awakens, that was all right.
She picked up a copy of Lightsaber Duels for Dummies.
Everybody wants to know who you are, where you're from, who your parents are. Will that all be answered in The Last Jedi?
It's very interesting because I didn't know, Mark was telling me, I didn't know that when Darth Vader said, I'm your father, people didn't believe it. They didn't believe that it was true. And it was interesting because at the end of Force Awakens, I thought everyone was going to be like, oh, cool, that's been answered, but it hasn't. And I think even though a lot of questions are answered in The Last Jedi, I think it's still that thing of discovery.
I still don't think of her in the past tense. She's so alive.
She was such a big part of these Star Wars
Of course.
celebrations. Does it hit you on a different level that she's not here with you?
Yeah, because she made everything more fun. If she were next to me, she'd crash my interview, I'd crash hers. It was impossible to be around her and not have so much fun.
This next generation of Star Wars actors clearly carrying on Fisher's vivacity. It is such an emotional experience for these fans.
It's wonderful to be part of something that unites people in a very joyous, positive way is unusual and phenomenal. I don't think I will ever be what Leia is. So I don't really feel a responsibility. I feel a great sadness, obviously. But I don't think about it in those terms. That's just an awful, loss that we've all experienced. So I'm just going to try and carry on doing justice to Rey. Yeah.
So how is Rey's relationship with Luke in this movie different from like Luke's relationship with, say, Yoda or Obi-Wan?
Well, Rey is not a teacher. Yoda and Obi-Wan are very much like guiding figures in Luke's life. And Rey, I think, obviously, he doesn't even know who she is when she turns up, like with this frickin' lightsaber that he's not seen in however long. So that in itself is a big difference. And then as things go on, I think there's an expectation. There's always been an expectation on Luke as to his potential and what he can do and what he should do, much like with Rey. So in that sense, they're kind of similar. But obviously, the dynamic has changed because she's expecting something from him this time, and it remains to be seen whether, how he reacts to that.
And how do you... Yeah.
I think I've spoken to a number of people that have seen a rough cut, and everyone's like, it's different. So I think with Ryan's vision and his image, and also I think he had JJ, brought the old fans back and the new fans in, and he had all this stuff. And Ryan, I think, had more room to kind of do his thing. What we hear Luke say in the trailer about the Jedi must end, the whole audience is like, what? John was like, what? I missed that bit. I think it's just a certain expectation that people have, and perhaps that being challenged or going in a different direction.
It looks like you're going to get some training scenes, maybe a sweet 80s training montage. That would be fantastic.
That would be fantastic.
What challenges does Rey face in the new film?
Physical ones, yes. Like training-wise, it was funny because I felt like in the first fight I was much weaker than I am now. I really worked on my strength and I trained really hard. She's just been pushed into this world and everyone's telling her this thing that she is. Kind of how I feel. She needs time to catch up and also time to work out for herself what it is that is happening and how she's feeling and everything.
What more can you give us? We see this very far away shot of somebody practicing with a lightsaber. I'm assuming that is Rey, yeah?
That is Rey, yes. What more can I tell you? I just think we pick up right where we left off, so everyone obviously knows the momentum that's kind of built to that moment, and the audience is going to watch this thing unfold as Rey is. Rey is meeting Luke for the first time, and it's this whole thing and all these expectations and everything that goes on. We're all in it together.